The implications of this are frankly nothing short of historic. Over 100 documents that we released on Friday really detail and provide evidence of how this treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama just weeks before he was due to leave office.
Because his voice doesn't carry weight anymore. He was out there begging, screaming, scolding, everything he did. He no longer carries that weight. Imagine Barack Obama, every day he goes to sleep, he remembers that one dinner that he's talking Trump, saying you'll never be president, when he did the angry tweets and all this stuff on Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, and he reads the Trump tweet at him, talking about him, he says, at least you'll never be a president, drops the mic.
He was celebrated as the voice of hope, the smooth-talking savior who vowed unity and transformation. Crowds hung on every word, the media built the myth, and the world bought into the brand. But Patrick Bet-David and Tulsi Gabbard aren't falling for it. They tear past the polished facade to expose what Barack Obama truly left behind. Foreign policy turmoil, loyalty to Wall Street, and a legacy built more on image than substance. When the curtain drops, the illusion shatters, and the truth finally takes center stage.
But think you're Obama, okay? First go from the Obama's lens.
Okay.
Obamas are sitting there having to hear people compare Kamala to Obama.
Crazy.
Do you know what that does to Obama? Do you know Obama is sitting there saying, shut the that's what Obama's saying internally, right?
Director Gabbard, give me your response to what we heard from former President Obama there. He's saying that none of this makes any sense, that this is a distraction. What do you say to that?
It's the art of deflection coming from former President Obama, as well as his friends who are still in Congress today, and Senator Warner and Congressman Jim Himes, really all basically saying that exact same statement, which doesn't actually address the issue that was revealed in great detail in the over 100 documents that we released last week.
And if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for more updates. Barack Obama has always carried himself like the man who walked into history's VIP lounge and never bothered to leave. The crisp suits, the smooth delivery, the carefully timed pauses, each designed to make every line sound like scripture. But behind the performance, most of those words on hope and change rang hollow. For years, he was treated as politics philosopher king, a supposed genius whose very presence was meant to cleanse Washington's swamp. Yet when Patrick Bet-David and Tulsi Gabbard start peeling back the layers, the illusion collapses, faster than Obama's NCAA bracket predictions.
The one thing I wanted to show is the following. So you know how you talked about Jerome Powell, what an easy job. You come once a month and he said, we're going to increase the rates.
Greatest job there is.
I think this is the one thing they don't talk about. So Barack Obama got elected November 4th. Okay, quantitative easing started November 26th.
Right.
And it stayed for 8 years until you got elected.
Right.
So if you look at that low, pretty much 0% interest rate.
Right.
And then you get elected, right? If you go to January 2016, Rob, for the audience to see that. And then from there, one by one, rates are going up. And then Biden comes in, goes back down to zero to try to save the economy. And then, the rest is obviously history.
Right.
But do you think the average person knows, like, the impact of going to 0%?
He sold himself as the Messiah, but what he really delivered was closer to a slick salesman pushing a used Honda with a failing transmission. Patrick Bet-David strips away the polish, exposing Obama not as a leader but as a brand, a walking marketing campaign dressed up in lofty rhetoric. He wasn't a revolutionary. He was Apple's keynote speaker in human form, all glossy promises, all hype. The political iPhone launch. Crowds lined up, dazzled by the pitch, only to discover the same old glitches, frozen screens, and broken chargers once the box was opened.
Tom, what is the process of Nobel Prize? If he's able to do that, who nominates? Because most of the Nobel winners are on the left.
Nobel Prizes, you can go look this up, are given through an arcane nomination process, and they go into a back room and they decide who they're going to give it to. And the Nobel Peace Prize is basically a political football. You look around the world at people that have really caused peace, and you have Obama made a couple speeches as soon as he was inaugurated in 2009. Oh my goodness, we give it to for fostering an environment of peace.
Tulsi Gabbard takes it a step further. She points out that Obama didn't just sling empty slogans. He wrapped establishment-friendly policies in a progressive disguise. He ran on ending wars, then turned drone strikes into something like Amazon Prime for missiles. He promised transparency, yet his administration went after whistleblowers more aggressively than any before him. He never dismantled the military-industrial complex. He simply rebranded it. A fresh coat of eco-friendly paint, sold as change you can believe in.
Capability to try to impact the outcome of the U.S. election leading up to Election Day. The same assessment was made after Donald Trump was elected by the American people as president in 2016, defeating Hillary Clinton. And it wasn't until after that pulled President's Daily Brief document that the Principals Committee was called in the National Security Council, and President Obama then directed his Obama's DNI James Clapper to lead the effort to create this new intelligence community assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow attempted to influence the outcome of the U.S. election.
And the irony? He's still worshipped like a saint. This is the man who built his legacy on charisma while quietly bailing out Wall Street and leaving working Americans gasping for air. Patrick Bet-David doesn't let it slide. He lays out how Obama turned "yes, we can" into "yes, Goldman can," propping up the same financial giants that wrecked the economy in 2008. Families lost homes, savings, and livelihoods, while Obama's donor list fattened like a Christmas turkey. Hope didn't trickle down, Wall Street bonuses did.
Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh my goodness. The words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express.
And we're going to have some fun.
You both.
Say it.
It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this,
That's
too.
right. So obviously, she's not a professional actress.
Tulsi tears apart the myth of the anti-war Nobel Peace Prize winner. Let's not forget, he got that prize like a participation trophy before he'd even settled into the Oval Office. And what came after? Escalated conflicts, drone campaigns that turned civilians into statistics, and a Middle East more unstable leaving his watch than entering it. She highlights how Obama made war look clean and clinical, fewer boots on the ground, more remote control strikes, killing reduced to something that felt like a PowerPoint presentation. Patrick Bet-David cuts deeper, pointing out that a brand can thrive even when the product flops. Obama was the political version of a Netflix trailer. Dramatic music, polished visuals, sky-high promises, only for the actual series to drag on as filler episodes stitched together with broken promises. Strip away the shine, and his legacy looks less like Camelot and more like mediocrity dressed up in marketing.
After President Trump had already gotten elected, this is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern every single American because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. What we saw occur here, as the documents we released detailed, was that we had a sitting president of the United States and his cabinet and leadership team, quite frankly, who were not happy with the fact that President Trump had won the election, that the American people had chosen Donald J. Trump to be the next president commander-in-chief of the United States.
Tulsi also underscores how Obama's influence set the stage for today's toxic politics. He promised unity, but his playbook quietly thrived on division. By cementing identity politics as Washington's operating system, he taught Americans to see each other less as neighbors and more as demographic checkboxes. Instead of healing divides, he deepened them, smiling as he convinced one half of the country they were enlightened while dismissing the other half as relics of history. The irony? That very self-righteous superiority fueled the backlash that made Donald Trump's rise almost inevitable. For Obama, it was always about image. The smooth jumper on the basketball court, the Al Green moment at the mic, the speeches designed to trend online. Governance was never the main event. He wasn't commander-in-chief. He was influencer-in-chief, forever curating the reel instead of fixing the feed.
The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact. The implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Tulsi calls out how Obama's obsession with appearances came at the expense of substance. His foreign policy wasn't strategy, it was theater. Libya was sold as a humanitarian mission, but it collapsed into chaos, open-air slave markets, and a destabilized region ripe for extremists. In Syria, his vanishing red lines and half measures only deepened the spiral. He didn't deliver stability, he delivered confusion, dressed up as caution. Meanwhile, the applause never stopped. His speeches had crowds clapping like trained seals while the world grew less safe. Patrick Bet-David dismantles the economic myth just as brutally. Under Obama, the gig economy ballooned, wages flatlined, and corporate profits skyrocketed. Main Street? Still patching potholes in its own driveway. Obama wasn't the savior of the working class. He was the PR spokesman for global boardrooms. He perfected a new model of economics. Funnel taxpayer money upward, toss a few crumbs downward, and sell it as hope.
That was an inconvenient truth. The President's Daily Brief article was pulled. It has never been published until we released it about a week and a half ago. Instead, this new intelligence assessment was ordered by President Obama that contradicted directly every other intelligence assessment that had been published prior to the election, as well as assessments that had been pushed forward after the election.
Tulsi rips into the hypocrisy behind Obama's progressive mask. He preached climate responsibility, yet under his watch fracking exploded and fossil fuel production hit record highs. He vowed transparency, then spied on journalists and surveilled citizens like a paranoid landlord watching tenant. He talked about empowering the people, yet left them more entangled in a system designed to serve elite. His presidency became a masterclass in double standards. The kind where you sermonize about morality while cashing checks from the very industries you claim to restrain. Patrick Bet-David and Tulsi Gabbard mock the absurdity of a man who once rallied crowds with grassroots imagery, now sipping fine wine with Silicon Valley oligarchs and cutting Netflix deals to curate the mythology of his own legacy.
Foreign policy related, and it was related to the fact that I had the audacity to go against them, to challenge the elite of the Democratic Party, which is Hillary Clinton, it's Barack Obama, and it's the people who surround them in the military-industrial complex, in the media-industrial complex, those who are pushing, and it's not limited to the Democratic Party.
Obama will be remembered less for his policies than for his performance. And that's exactly why Patrick Bet-David slices through the myth with surgical precision. Performance can be polished, rehearsed, and endlessly repackaged, but results can't be fake. What's left behind is a country more divided, a world more unstable, and a political culture addicted to branding over substance. Strip away the speeches, and you see a politician who mastered seduction but failed the test of leadership. Patrick Bet-David dismantles the brand. Tulsi Gabbard unmasks the hypocrisy. Together, they reveal how Obama's legacy is more smoke and mirrors than substance. The truth is harsh, but it's freeing. And the ugliest truth of all? Obama didn't just fail his supporters. He taught a generation that politics is theater, that optics outweigh accountability, and that words matter more than result. That's his real legacy. And it's the one Bet-David and Gabbard ripped to shreds until the myth lies in ruins.
I'm going to go to the next topic here, which is Adam's top topic, talking about Obama saying every man needs a gay friend. So Obama goes on his wife's podcast, okay? And they're sitting there having this conversation, and it opens, they covered a lot of different things. Right off the bat, they talked about the divorce. Hey, aren't we supposed to be getting a divorce and all this stuff?
Obama's signature domestic achievement was the Affordable Care Act, but even that crumbles under scrutiny once Patrick Bet-David and Tulsi Gabbard tear into it. Marketed as a bold leap forward, It quickly revealed itself as a maze of bureaucracy that still left millions uninsured, drove premiums through the roof, and crushed small businesses under mandates they could barely afford. It wasn't reform for the people, it was reform for the insurance giant. Obama paraded around as if he had reinvented America's healthcare system, but what he really delivered was a clumsy compromise, a government-subsidized commercial for private insurers. Patrick reminds audiences that this so-called landmark reform was never about real change, but about optic. The hypocrisy couldn't be clearer. The self-styled champion of the people left working families with higher deductibles, fewer choices, and a legacy built more on spin than substance.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
Obama has to eat his words for the rest of his life. It's gotta suck. The number one loser of 2024 election.
Take the Iran nuclear deal. Praised by Obama loyalists as a masterstroke of diplomacy, but riddled with cracks the moment it was examined. Patrick Bet-David calls it what it really was: political theater, staged to polish Obama's international image. He wanted to be remembered as the great peacemaker, the deal-maker who could stop wars with a pen and a smile. In reality, the deal was fragile, short-term, and criticized for empowering the very regime it was supposed to restrain. Billions were unfrozen, Tehran's influence expanded, and America's allies in the region felt betrayed. Tulsi tears into the hollowness of that so-called victory lap, pointing out that real leadership requires lasting solutions, not photo ops designed to earn applause in European newspapers. And she doesn't stop there. She reminds people that Obama's fingerprints were all over Joe Biden's rise, pushing him into the nomination to block outsider threats like Bernie Sanders. For a man who claimed to stand above the dirty tricks of machine politics, Obama proved he was the machine, pulling levers behind the curtain, bending the party to his will, all while pretending to float above the swamp.
Just tell me if this seems like they woke up together in the same bed this morning, the last week, the last month, the last 90 days, or if they live in two different places. Just watch this real quick. Go ahead, Rob.
Wait, you guys like each other?
Oh yeah, really? Huh?
That's so
the rumor mill.
Yeah, slap that hand hard.
It's my husband, y'all.
She took me back.
Patrick reminds his audience that this is the same man who thundered against Wall Street, yet now cashes in with speaking fees from the very bankers he once pretended to challenge. Obama didn't drain the swamp. He turned it into a private golf resort. His post-presidency has been one long cash grab, repackaged as intellectual reflection. Netflix deals, book deals, luxury appearances. Obama morphed into the Tony Robbins of politics, monetizing hope while his followers were left clutching the emptiness he sold them. Tulsi slices through the myth of Obama as a global statesman. The world didn't see steady leadership. It saw hesitation dressed up as caution. And Patrick drives the final stake. Obama isn't remembered for what he accomplished, but for how he made people feel. But history doesn't grade feelings, it measures result. And when the glow of charisma finally fades, the reality of his legacy is unavoidable.